Hi everybody, this is T at Aloha Astro, and today we're looking at a new moon that actually arrives at 1:21 a.m. on December 1st in the Eastern Time Zone at 9 degrees 33 minutes of the mutable fire sign of Sagittarius. But I lumped it in with today, November 30th, because we basically have the same aspect patterns and energy, and you can definitely feel that new moon energy today. You'll be feeling it tomorrow until we have the moon move further along into Sagittarius and some of the aspects that it's creating fall apart. So let's take a look at what we've got for this new moon. The new moon in Sagittarius will occur on Sunday, December 1st at 1:21 a.m. EST. But the emotional intensity and energy patterns are the same as the moon sidles up closely to the sun on Saturday, November 30th. Sagittarius is a mutable fire sign ruled by the planet Jupiter and associated with the 9th house of foreign travel, higher education, high-minded principles, and the gathering and sharing of information and experience in the zodiac wheel. No matter what house, aka area of life, this new moon activates within your own natal chart, you can expect to feel like a seeker, and you may be looking for the kindred souls who will be on your team as you grow, or who will accompany you on your journey. The enthusiastic and friendly eagerness to meet and make merry is enlarged further and takes on a tone of synchronistic kismet or destiny made manifest through a grand trine formed by the Sun and Moon, Mars in Leo, and Neptune retrograde in Pisces conjunct the North Node in Aries. Venus in Capricorn conjunct Pluto in Aquarius in a minor grand trine with Uranus in Taurus and Neptune North Node, as well as Chiron retrograde in Aries trine to the Sun, Moon, and Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, indicate it is possible that a dream you have had for a while will come true, or is already happening, because you decided or are in the process of deciding to open your mind, take a chance, and believe in yourself. The Sagittarius planets are also engaged in overlapping and pressure-producing T-squares, which tag Jupiter in Gemini and both Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. You may have more than one option, but could lose both or spin your wheels and go nowhere if you hesitate or procrastinate. No matter how amazing or inspired your plans are, following through with commitment and consistency is important if you desire success. If you are content to go with the flow, follow your impulses, and see what happens, that is fine too, because a Sagittarius new moon promises that the story of the journey will be as interesting, if not more so, than the destination. So let's take a look at the sky and what's going on there. I'm just going to put them up side by side. So we have the 1st and we've got the 30th. So overall, fairly similar. It's just the moon moving along by about 7 degrees and the sun by 1 degree. Everything else fairly the same. On the new moon itself, we begin to lose the grand trine and kite, which is a little bit tighter today, as of noon today. But of course, as the moon and sun move forward and they begin to fall out of the aspects that are creating that grand trine and kite, we'll begin to lose some of that. But I do think that you're basically riding on that, and we still have Mars very active in the engagement with Mercury, Sun, Moon, Neptune, as well as Pluto and Venus. And there are so many aspects going on that I couldn't write about them all because certain social media platforms don't allow a whole lot of writing. They want things to stay short. But you can see that we've got lines going on everywhere, as has been the case for a while, and that's not really going to quiet down until we get further in the winter and we no longer have anything that's going to touch off um, aspects with all the other planets. But we still have a sky that's fairly well distributed, and that makes for a busy time period. Basically, the happy blue lines, the trines and the sextiles are supportive. There is usually ease and flow between the planets that are connected that way. And the shorter red lines, the squares, and the longer red lines, the oppositions, present the tension, the friction, the activation, the challenge. It would be wrong to consider all those blue lines good and all the red lines bad, because if we didn't have those activations and challenges, we probably wouldn't be pushed into utilizing the talents, skills, or open doors, stepping through the open doors that those trines and sextiles do represent. So what I think is really driving just about everything is an aspect pattern that is going to be long-standing, because Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus are the slowest movers. So they're going to be in this little configuration with each other for quite a while. That dynamic of those three outer planets, or transpersonal, generational planets, are giving us opportunities to think in different ways, to aim higher, to consider new ways of doing things, and not just for ourselves individually, but for society as a whole. We have Pluto, the planet of power and transformation, now moving full steam ahead in Aquarius for the next 19 years. It's not going to slip back into Capricorn again. And that is much more humanitarian and people-based, as well as the future technology. Then we have its ruler, which is Uranus, also engaged with Pluto, and that is the planet of change, technology, the future, genius. We've got Neptune, beauty, healing, and inspiration, and they are all connected to each other. So we have opportunities coming up ahead, but they aren't the old ones. In a more personal way, those three planets are going to show up somewhere in your chart, transiting your chart, and you can look to see what houses or areas of life they are moving through. If you do go to astro.com and set up a free chart there, and then toggle on that you'd like to see your natal chart with transits, you will see the transits of the planets show up in green symbols on the outer edge of the chart wheel, and then you only have to look on the inside of the wheel to see the house numbers counterclockwise, beginning at the ascendant to the left. And that will give you an idea of what areas of life. And a simple Google search on astrology cheat sheet or astrological houses will give you a list of the 12 houses and their meaning. Now today and tomorrow, the moon is moving through Sagittarius, and it's a new moon in Sagittarius. So it's basically a kind of like a wave of energy that we ride for the next 2 weeks until we get to the full moon. Even though the moon changes signs every 2.5 days, this is like a pebble that gets dropped in a pond and the rings go out. And then as we get to the full moon, we have the culmination. Whatever is planted now or begun now will grow, or if we develop an interest in something and begin to seek, we may get the answer as we come up to a full moon 2 weeks from now. I just find the whole process of new moons and full moons so fascinating, because there is this kind of in and out, high tide, low tide type of pull, breath in, breath out, that governs our cycles, sleep and awake. Everything seems to have that kind of in and out energy in our lives. And right now we're in the phase where the moon is going to begin to wax or get larger. So it is often a good time to begin new things. And under the sign of Sagittarius, I mean, there's the sky's the limit. Really, the main thing is, does it interest you? Can it hold your interest for a while? Are you researching? Are you exploring? Are you expanding and growing? Are you meeting new people? And that can be very physical, like taking a trip or taking a class, or it can be more on the spiritual level where you're doing your own search into yourself and questioning life in general. I look at Sagittarius and the ninth house as being kind of like the sociology house within the chart, because it does cover so many things. It also has a lot of the energy of jack of all trades. And if you look at your natal chart and find that you have a very busy ninth house, Sagittarius is home, and you have a lot of planets there, it is likely that you suffer from "I don't know what I want to be when I grow up" syndrome. And that's actually okay. Your soul chose that. And a busy ninth house person is usually going to change a lot in their lifetime, try new things, perpetually go back to school or change jobs or travel around, meet new people. And they are that rolling stone that doesn't seem to gather any moss. But later in life, they often become the sage or the person that other people look toward and say, "What an amazing life you have. You know, what great stories. I wish I could be like you." Not that one is better than the other, and everybody has their own unique nature and patterns in their natal chart. But at this new moon, you can definitely tap into more of that expansive and opportunistic and friendly and team-oriented, inspired energy of Sagittarius. And then think along those lines. Take a look at where that new moon is occurring within your own natal chart, what house, and you'll see where you need to grow, where it would benefit you to do some seeking, or to put yourself out there, or to open your mind and ask questions. There's a lot of spiritual overtone simply because Neptune in Pisces conjunct that North Node in Aries is bringing up some of those existential questions. Who am I? Where am I going? What am I doing? And we have another minor grand trine in there with that Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus being joined by a personal planet, Venus in Capricorn, which takes on a little bit of more of a somber tone. What would you do? Well, it sounds kind of silly, but you know, if this were your last day on Earth, or if you knew you only had a certain amount of time, this Chiron Venus square with Venus conjunct Pluto is a little bit sobering. And because we have a certain retrograde vibe to this all, look back, consider the opportunities you had in the past that you didn't take. Maybe you weren't ready, maybe it wasn't the right time. And then think about it now. Now that you are a different person than you were then, would you do it now? Do you feel that you're ready? Is it still a dream or something that you want to do? And then consider actually doing it, trying it. There are some things that we can go back to, and other things we might find out that no, that indeed really is over and it's time to move on. And the only way to really find out is to ask that question, or to look and find and discover. And that's where that T-square, which has been hanging around for a bit as well, while we've had Jupiter squaring both Saturn and Neptune, and while we've had things moving through Sagittarius to set up the T-square. First it was Venus, now the baton has passed to Mercury retrograde. Next it will be the Sun. that takes over, and we will have that T-square around for a little bit. And that's the one that is putting the pressure on, where you have to look at your options. Do you go back? Do you go forward? Do you stay or go? Do you go to this place or that place? Do you change your job or not? And in many ways, if you just get caught up in the cycle of bouncing something around and not deciding, you may miss out on something. It's almost better to simply decide and begin, even if you don't know what's going to happen, and then take it to its conclusion, whatever that might be, whether it falls apart or it becomes successful. It's really irrelevant. It's better to move the energy than to stagnate, especially while we have Mars in very creative Leo. And Mars will be going retrograde as well on December 5th. Between the, I think it's the 7th. It goes retrograde on the 6th or the 7th. Between like the 7th and the 15th of December, we're going to have both of these faster moving planets, which have a lot to do with, well, Mars, action, and Mercury can also be very active. It's where we make up our minds about something, or we say we're going to do something. And also a planet of travel, writing, learning, teaching. Those two planets are going to both be retrograde at the same time from the 7th to the 15th of December. And then we have the full moon, I think around the 15th, and Mercury coming out of retrograde. So that one particular week there from the 7th to the 15th might be a good time for you to actually go back to something or someone and try again. Or look at what you've created and decide, do you need to deconstruct it or recreate it or tweak it, or what do you need to do at that point as you approach a full moon and the culminating energy of the seed that's getting planted now. So we have some forward motion pulling us ahead, definitely a draw to a higher level or of functioning and being, and not just individually, but in society. And yet we have retrogrades that can slow things down, or where it's necessary to look over things or clear out the past, go back to something from before and figure out if it can be rehabilitated and used, or if it's time to really let it go, clean out that closet or whatever, move that stuff out of your life, or move on from the relationship. We have a little bit of a paradox going on with Venus in Capricorn right now, making a trine to Uranus, because Venus is pleasure, affection, beauty, desire, and it's in Capricorn, which is usually looking for the commitment or the certainty, doesn't really want to make any mistakes. But a Venus-Uranus trine is often falling in love or out of love very quickly. The impulse that comes from Uranus when it interacts with Venus is not conservative at all. And then we've got Pluto nearby, also spicing things up, where desire is intensified. We almost kind of have the good versus bad type of energy. Well, I shouldn't really say bad, but somebody who appears to, let's say, be a very good person, but then has a lot of kink or has a shadow side. And we've got Neptune, which is a planet of romantic feelings involved with Uranus and with Venus, Pluto. You can revitalize existing relationships if you do focus upon changing up your patterns and putting some spice in and going to unusual places or doing something unusual. If you do fall in love very quickly, and it really depends upon what you're looking for, but if you're looking for simply some fun, you might be surprised by either you or the other person taking something very seriously because of the Capricorn influence for about a week until we get Venus moving into Aquarius. Then it becomes a little more, friend zone or detached. But Taurus, even though Uranus, which is an unstable planet, it's an essential sign, but that sign is relatively steady and has trust issues. I think everybody might be wanting more excitement or might be wanting to have more commitment in relationship, but they also want to be treated as individuals right now or feel that they have their freedom. So that might even be sexy in itself if there is more freedom within a committed relationship or more recognition of both of you as being unique individuals. Just break the patterns. Look to break the patterns. Maybe even if you're looking for love, consider dating people who are not necessarily your type, and you might be surprised. And Mars is in ardent Leo, and whether it's moving forward or retrograde, either way, you're going to get that strong desire energy and the thrill of falling in love. The desire to chase or be chased is there with Mars and Leo. It is quite playful and warm. So enjoy that too until it moves into Cancer, and then we get a little more into our feels and issues of security. Right now it is wanting some of the conquest and maybe even enjoying the challenge of somebody different because of Mars opposing Pluto and Uranus. Enjoying somebody different, or even enjoying, like, making somebody jealous, or knowing that everybody's got eyes on your partner at the party can be exciting. That's an excitement aspect, but it's also challenging. So if you're playing any type of a jealousy game, do it very carefully. And keep in mind that we do have an opposition going on with Uranus here today, that it falls apart tomorrow, but it's still a little bit unstable. And you might try something and then it doesn't work out the way you expected it would. If you can move forward experimentally in life right now without huge expectation for things to go exactly as you want it, you're more likely to have fun and be surprised in a good way. If you are already a very set in your ways person and need a lot of security, then you might not feel as adventurous, or you might not view new people or opportunities as being fun. They might not feel safe to you. And that's, again, down to the personal chart. I would definitely say try. You can try something and decide you do not like it. You can look into expanding your boundaries and explore and experiment, and then go back to being in your routine after you've tried, but at least you can say that you have tried. Let's take a look at the Sabian symbol for this degree, and we round up to 10 degrees from 9:33 to 10. A theatrical representation of a golden-haired goddess of opportunity. Keynote: society's efforts at dramatizing the greatness of what it offers to the ambitious person. Civilization as a process demands the goading of individuals to spend their vital energies in the pursuit of achievements which, while fulfilling the individual's ambition and greed, nevertheless generate various forms of what we call progress. This sequence of symbols mainly refers to the drive for advancement along human, all too human paths of growth. This is the last symbol of the 50th fivefold sequence. We see in it how sociocultural forces operate by dramatization and propaganda. The result is all too often a process of forced growth. Well, that all makes sense. And indeed, there is the opportunity for advancement and progress at this time. But with that T-square and Saturn being the planet of work and authority and success and mastery, basically being pressured by Jupiter and by the Sagittarius planets, do you want to work that hard or do you not? Do you want the success or do you simply want an experience? Do you want what is more material, or do you want more of what you carry around within you on the spiritual level or in terms of memory? Because of what we have going on in Pisces, that is personal choice. That is up to you. And Jupiter can help you out if you are striving, particularly while Chiron is sextile to Jupiter and Chiron is making the trines to the Sagittarius planets. If you want to go out and strive, you've got plenty of striving opportunity within the chart. If you want to consider yourself a co-creator with the universe right now and be kind of open-ended and simply decree whatever is for my highest good and harms none, and then state some of your intentions but remain open to what might come your way, you may be just as successful. It might just come in a more sporadic or unpredictable way rather than in a more structured way. And structure is really the harder thing right now. The routines and the structure are more challenging to maintain. And if you're seeking a balance of both, there's plenty of creativity and imagination and higher thought that can be put to use through some form or structure and repetition, practice, until it takes, until you are successful. So in a way, you have three options, and that is, again, up to you and your natal chart and the transits to it right now. As always, but particularly during the holiday season, and while the planet that rules transportation and communication is retrograde, while it's in a transportation communication sign, definitely pay attention on the road and anticipate that people are not going to be behaving in predictable ways. And it is likely that a lot of people that you are commuting with that are out there are strangers from a different place. They don't know where they are. They could be lost. They could be trying to figure out what lane they need to be in or whatever. Or they just came from a party and they drank too much. So please don't drive after you've been drinking. Be patient on the road and give yourself enough time to get to airports. Double check that you have your tickets. Keep a small carry-on bag in case your luggage goes to another airport or whatever. And keep a good sense of humor about it all, because getting all angry and upset over things right now is definitely not the answer. Realizing that stuff just happens and you choose to be happy is definitely the answer. Take care.